It was a Wednesday morning. Nothing unusual. The house smelled faintly of brewed coffee, the kind I used to make every morning before my hands started shaking too much to measure properly. At 73, I had stopped cooking years ago, stopped rearranging the furniture, stopped interrupting conversations I had quietly learned how to disappear in my own home. My daughter, Amelia, and her husband had moved into my house to help me out after my fall last year, or so they said. I knew it was because the mortgage on their luxury home was sinking them, and this old house I paid off decades ago was a convenient escape. I was standing near the kitchen doorway that morning, holding my breath, barely making a sound as I waited for the toast to pop up. Amelia didn't know I was there. She was whispering harshly to her husband in the kitchen, her voice sharper than the knives she kept in the drawer next to the stove. "I'm so tired of cleaning up after her," she muttered. "She's just a dead weight. She takes up space and guilt-trips us with her sad little face." Dead weight. That word clanged in my head like a dropped pan. I felt my spine stiffen not from anger, but from a kind of cold that wrapped around my heart and refused to let go. I quietly took the toast, didn't butter it, and walked out without saying a word. All these years I thought I was still a mother, still a person worth celebrating. I had raised her as a single mom, took double shifts at the textile mill to make sure she never missed a dance class, never walked to school without lunch money. And here I was, no longer mom, just furniture with a heartbeat. I sat in my room, staring at the wooden box where I kept all the documents, my will, my house title, the bonds I quietly grew over the years while pretending I couldn't afford name-brand soup. I had always told myself, it's for Amelia. She's my legacy. But in that moment, I knew. She didn't see me as a legacy, she saw me as a burden. 3 days later, while Amelia was out getting her lashes refilled and her husband was in the garage talking about crypto, I called a cab, not even the family car, just a yellow cab, old-fashioned and quiet. I had one destination, First Pioneer Credit Union. As I stepped into the bank, clutching my purse with every document inside, I spotted a woman in line ahead of me. Her coat was patched. Her hands were clean but rough a mother's hands, I thought. She was holding a folder marked Loan Appeal. I don't know what made me ask her, but I leaned in and said gently, "You trying to keep your house?" Her eyes filled instantly. "Yes, ma'am. I'm a widow. They denied my first request." I looked straight ahead at the teller's window, then at her folder, and smiled. "I think today's your lucky day." She didn't know what I meant. Not yet. But I did. And I didn't feel like a dead weight anymore. She kept staring at me like I was crazy. I don't blame her. Who expects a random elderly woman to strike up a conversation while you're praying the bank won't foreclose on your home? I walked with her toward the teller. "Come with me," I told her softly, calmly, like I was offering someone a warm meal. She hesitated, confused, but followed. The teller smiled politely. "Next, please." I stepped forward and opened my purse. "I'd like to withdraw $138,500. The teller's smile froze. "I have the documentation here," I added. "It's for an emergency transfer. I'm choosing to issue it as a cashier's check, but not for myself." I gently turned to the woman beside me and handed the teller the folder the woman was holding. "She's the recipient." The woman gasped. No, I can't accept. Ma'am, this is... Why would you... Because someone told me I had no value left," I said softly. "And it turns out I've got a little left to give." Tears fell freely down her cheeks. The teller stared in stunned silence, then stepped away to get a supervisor. As the paperwork started processing, I finally asked her name. "Clara," she whispered. "I have 3 kids. I've been fighting to stay afloat. I didn't think I had a chance." "Well, Clara," I said, folding my hands neatly. "You do now. Let that be their problem." When I stepped outside the bank an hour later, I felt light for the first time in years, like I had just shed decades of burden. I wasn't scared. I wasn't lost. I was free. I didn't go home right away. I bought myself a hot coffee and sat on a bench in front of the old fountain in town square, watching strangers rush past everyone with somewhere to be, someone to love. For the first time, I didn't wish for someone to notice me. I knew I had mattered to someone. That was enough. But fate, it seems, wasn't done with me yet. When I returned home, Amelia was pacing in the living room. Her eyes darted toward the wall clock, then to the door. "Where have you been?" she demanded. "I was about to call the police." "Were you really?" I asked, hanging up my coat. "Or were you just hoping I stayed gone a little longer?" "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I said simply, walking past her. That night, they held a family dinner. A last-ditch attempt, I suppose, to pretend things were normal. Amelia made boxed lasagna. Her husband poured cheap wine and toasted to family. I didn't say much, just watched. Then came dessert. "I've been meaning to ask," Amelia said sweetly, "about the inheritance paperwork you mentioned a few months ago. You said you finalized it?" "I did," I replied, sipping tea. "Everything's done, notarized, witnessed." Her eyes sparkled. "Good. So we'll be in the will, of course. The house, the bonds, the savings." "No," I said, calmly, coldly. She blinked. "What?" "You won't be inheriting anything. It's already gone. I gave it to someone who actually looked me in the eye like I was human. Someone who didn't call me dead weight." Her jaw dropped. Her husband's wine glass tipped slightly in his hand. "You what?" "I canceled the plan to leave you the house. I cashed the bonds. I closed the accounts. You'll find the utilities have also been transferred. You'll have to start paying now." Amelia's face flushed crimson. "You're insane. That money was mine." "No, dear," I said, standing up. "It was never yours, and you made sure it never would be." She screamed. She cursed. Her husband tried to play peacemaker, but it was too late. The legal transfers had already happened. The trust was sealed, and the funds were irrevocable. That night I packed a small suitcase and left. Not because I was running, but because I was done living in a home where love had a price tag and kindness had an expiration date. I moved into a small rental cottage just outside town, nothing grand, but peaceful. A wooden porch with wind chimes, a kettle that didn't hiss in anger, quiet neighbors. And for the first time in decades, I woke up without tension in my chest. I got a letter 2 weeks later. No return address, just a delicate handwritten card. "You saved more than my house. You saved me. I'm starting over. I'll make you proud. Always, Clara." Inside the envelope was a Polaroid photo, Clara smiling, standing in front of a modest home with her 3 kids, one of them holding a handmade sign. "Thank you, Mrs. Joan." I stared at the picture for a long time. And then I cried. Not the kind of tears I had cried in Amelia's kitchen, over reheated leftovers and cold remarks. No, these were different. These were the tears of someone who had given their pain new purpose. Meanwhile, Amelia tried everything. She called. She wrote long, manipulative messages that started with, "I was just stressed," and ended with, "You owe us a second chance." One voicemail even said, "Do you really want your own grandson growing up without a house?" I didn't respond. Because the truth was, I had already given my last gift to someone who actually knew how to say thank you. Weeks turned into months. I started volunteering twice a week at the local library, reading to children during story hour. No one knew who I used to be. No one cared how much I once owned. All that mattered was that I showed up every time with a warm smile and a voice full of fairy tales. And that was enough. But poetic justice has a way of finding its own ending. One day, while I was organizing children's books by the window, I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Mom?" I turned slowly. It was Amelia. Her face looked thinner. The designer coat was gone. Her hair tied in a messy bun. No ring on her finger. She stepped closer, hesitant. "I just wanted to say, I lost everything. The house, James, even the car." I said nothing. She added quietly, I remembered what you always said, that people don't become rich by what they keep, but by what they give. I watched her, waiting. She blinked fast, tears forming. I didn't understand it back then. I do now. I've been volunteering at the shelter, and I don't expect you to forgive me. But I wanted to say thank you for showing me what giving actually means. It took me a moment to respond. Finally, I said softly, then start giving, but not to me, to someone who hasn't heard, "You matter," in a long time. She nodded, eyes full of remorse, and walked away. That night, I made myself a simple dinner. No guests, no expectations, just the glow of a quiet lamp, the smell of lavender tea, and peace. I had no fortune left, no mansion, no marble counters or gold spoons. But I had something my daughter never understood. Dignity, peace, and the power to choose who deserves your last gift. And I had already given it to a woman who smiled through tears in a bank lobby. That was more than enough.